Luke Nelson was a lost kid who eventually found a bad doctor willing to help ease his pain, one pill at a time.
He enabled him to have these pills and do what he wanted to do with them.
You'll hear from that dangerous doctor.
So is it right for you to give a patient, a drug-seeking patient, that many pills?
No, he shouldn't do that.
Luke Nelson was an only child. He grew up in Shorewood. His dad was a cop, mom stayed at home. Luke seemed to have it all, but all was never quite enough.
And he was a tough one. He was a really tough kid.
Luke began smoking marijuana when he was 12. 3 years later, in the middle of his sophomore year, Luke dropped out of high school. Didn't want to work, didn't want to go to class. He just wanted to hang out.
Very determined to get what he wanted when he wanted it.
September 2003, Luke met Dr. J. Shim.
The sheer number of pills that were prescribed, to me, was staggering.
Luke told the doctor that he had a bulging disc, and just like that, came home with his first prescription.
And I said, wait a minute, has he ever given you a physical? Has he counseled you? He says, no, he's never laid a hand on me. He's never weighed me. He's never looked in my mouth. He's never watched me bend over. And I said, well, what about your bulging disc? He said, he's never asked. I walked into his office and he said, what do you want? What do you need?
Dr. Shim is a psychiatrist here on Milwaukee's South Side. A psychiatrist. And while they are licensed to prescribe medicine, Dr. Shim prescribed narcotics for a physical illness with no physical exam. None.
He could get it whenever he wanted it.
The parade of pills began. Valium, Xanax, Restoril, Soma, Halcion, Ambien. It's just a portion of the potent list of drugs Dr. Shim prescribed to Luke.
This is not how you practice medicine. You're supposed to treat. You don't just dish out prescriptions.
Listen to the list of just 1 month of scripts. April 27, 2004. Dr. Shim prescribed Xanax, Halcion, and Somas. 240 pills in one office visit. 3 weeks later, May 19th. Luke is back, and Shim writes him more Xanax, more Somas, and Valium. 330 pills this time.
He's a pill pusher. He's a drug pusher. He allowed quantities of pills to be available to this child with no care and no follow-up.
Luke told his mom that if he showed up at Shim's clinic without an appointment, he could get in and get whatever he wanted.
So that's a quantity of 90.
If he was paying cash. We decided to ask Dr. Shim some questions.
I'd like to talk to you about one of your patients.
What about the thousands of pills Dr. Shim wrote for Luke? Listen to what he admits.
Was that wrong?
Yeah.
That was wrong.
Yeah.
That's right. The dangerous doctor admits he was wrong. And what about the fact that he prescribed drugs for back pain with no exam?
I'm a psychiatrist. In my office, I don't have any examining table.
But you prescribed him drugs for a physical problem with no physical exam.
Yeah,
Yes?
Yeah, that is wrong.
August 2004, the days leading up to Luke's death. His life is spiraling out of control. Visits to Dr. Shim increase. He checks into this hotel on Milwaukee's South Side. On a warm summer night, Luke mixes methadone, commonly used to treat heroin addiction, and narcotic downers, including Xanax. Those drugs killed him. He died alone.
Popped a methadone and was dead within minutes because of everything else he had in his system.
And everything else he had in his system, a lot of that came from Dr. Shim.
It all came from Dr. Shim.
An autopsy by the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office confirms a toxic drug cocktail killed Luke.
Doctors should be aware of additive side effects of drugs or medications that they're prescribing, and that they should inform their patients that there can be unsuspected toxicity.
Jay Shim has been a doctor for more than 40 years. He's been in Milwaukee since 1993, writing prescriptions for thousands of patients. Yet throughout his career, there's been one important credential he has not been able to obtain.
Are you board certified?
No.
Why are you not board certified?
I tried, but I couldn't pass.
So I think we're dealing with something very unethical, if not immoral. And I hold him responsible for lousy medical care and enabling someone to die. And that was my son.
Should you lose your license?
No.
Why?
I will explain later.
He's got some explaining to do now. The Wisconsin Department of Regulation and Licensing has opened an investigation into Dr. Shim's irresponsible behavior.
This man is not following the rules, and he's going to hurt other people.
Do you believe you're responsible, at least in part, for his death?
No comment, please.
He's seeing somebody right now. He's probably seen 2-3 kids today. And he's writing prescriptions like I write checks.
Luke would have turned 22 earlier this month. Luke lost his fight. His mom is still waging hers.
There's a level of sadness that's not going to go away. I think it's become a part of my personality. And I miss you. I don't want anybody else to feel this way.